I typically don't review TV shows, but around the end of last month, I got a ton of recommendations from my friends to check out The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. I started watching the show, and at episode 1, I realized why everyone loves it. The acting is great, the characters and the story are well written, but what I think really sets it apart for me is how it's crafted.
We're gonna run.
It has two things that worked really well together: the atmosphere and the pacing. There are hundreds of shows with great acting and writing, but this is a perfect example of storytelling that comes from a genre that's typically known for cheap tricks.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
When it comes to horror, there are so many duds that when a really good one shows up, it's a breath of fresh air.
We stopped coming here after dark. Told Miss Hill, you can fire us, but once dinner's served, we leave. Come back in the morning for the dishes. Never spend a minute inside after dark.
That's close.
Director Mike Flanagan really knows what makes a great horror story. It's the feeling that you're actually there with the characters.
What's happening? What's happening? Where's Mom? I thought I saw her upstairs.
That's not Mom.
It's the first time in a while that the horror genre really gets enough time to shine. The Haunting of Hill House respects the audience. It doesn't rely on jump scares or cheap tricks to frighten the viewer. Instead, it puts the horror on screen, staring at you in the face. For some people, the thought of watching a scary movie or a TV show after Halloween is weird and out of place. But if you enjoy mystery and suspense, then it doesn't really matter. Horror isn't a genre that should only get appreciated in October. If stories are told well, horror can be enjoyed throughout the whole year. Some of the best kinds of stories are found in the horror genre, and Hill House is a pretty famous one. It's not just a haunted house, but the haunted house. It's the haunted house your parents grew up with. Before I give my thoughts on the show, let's look at some of the history first.
So this is a haunted house, huh?
That's what the people who live here say.
One of my favorite TV shows growing up was Ghostbusters. My favorite thing about the show was the atmosphere.
What?
It's why I love Tales from the Crypt. The opening to the show got me so excited as a kid as I would sit in front of the TV before each episode started. There are a lot of famous haunted houses throughout film and TV history, and they're found in everything from horror films to holiday specials.
Bad dream house.
The House of Usher has one of my favorites, complete with creepy set pieces, secret passageways, and characters that have been driven mad by the house. Some hauntings are much bigger than houses, like the Overlook Hotel from The Shining. But Hill House has history with roots that run deep. The Netflix series is inspired by a book written in 1959 by Shirley Jackson called The Haunting of Hill House. But the show has almost nothing to do with the book.
Open it.
Mr. Dudley says this is a master key, so it's supposed to open any door in the house.
If the characters in the show sound familiar, it's because they are. It's one of the few things that the series borrows from the book, and the house they live in is one of the most famous haunted houses in literature. You've probably heard the story before. If you notice in the opening of the Netflix show, the font size used in the title card is much larger for the top line. Drop Hill House from the title and you just have The Haunting. Ring a bell? It should. 2 films called The Haunting came out after the book was written. Remember that Liam Neeson film from 1999? It's the story of Hill House. Most of the main characters are there. Nell was played by Lily Taylor, and Catherine Zeta-Jones played Theo. Owen Wilson played Luke, but as a character, he was written completely different. This was the film that I grew up with, but it's actually a remake of the original that started it all.
An evil old house, the kind some people call haunted, is like an undiscovered country waiting to be explored. Hill House had stood for 90 years and might stand for 90 more.
The Haunting from 1963 is a classic. And it's a much better film than the remake in '99. It's the film responsible for giving life to Shirley Jackson's book. A film that often gets confused with The Haunting of Hill House is House on Haunted Hill.
I'm Frederick Lauren, and I've rented the house on Haunted Hill tonight so that my wife can give a party. A haunted house party.
That film came out in 1959, the same year Jackson wrote The Haunting of Hill House book. What's crazy is a similar thing happened again in 1999, when remakes of both films came out the same year. It's no wonder why people get them mixed up, but when you sit down and watch both films, they're very different. The original House on Haunted Hill was a murder mystery in a house that was never really haunted. The remake changed up the story where the house this time actually was haunted. In fact, it was alive.
Peter was right. The house is alive.
That's about the only thing House on Haunted Hill has in common with The Haunting, because the story of Hill House is also about a house that's alive. Alive and evil.
It was an evil house from the beginning, a house that was born bad.
The house itself is hungry and searching for its next victim. It devours people, trapping their souls inside.
The companion inherited Hill House and occupied it for many years. They say that whatever there was, and still is, in the house, eventually drove the companion mad.
It's a haunted house story, not about a house that's haunted by spirits, but spirits that are haunted by a house. There are towers you can't see from certain windows, odd angles down every hallway, and a floor plan that's designed like a maze. A story design that the Netflix series included in its opening credits, which also pays homage to the maze from The Shining. In every version of Hill House, there's a door, a locked door. Each time the story is told, the characters try to open the door, but can never get in. You've seen this door before. It's room 237 in The Shining. It's the door to Spook Central in Ghostbusters. I've even put the door in one of my movies. It's a storytelling device used for the big reveal, which is usually some hidden secret that requires a special key so the door can be opened. In The Haunting of Hill House, it's the door to the Red Room.
So what did you see when you got to the Red Room?
Nothing. That door's been locked since we moved in, so it was nothing.
Nothing.
In each version of Hill House, the locked door opens on its own to reveal the dark secret. In The Haunting, the door opens to reveal the nursery. One night, the door is just open.
Hey, look.
And when you see it down the hall, it's one of the scariest moments in the film.
Eleanor?
In The Haunting remake in '99, the door is very small. When it opens, we find out the reason for such a small door was because it was made for children. It was a room where the house would trap all of their souls.
I can't.
Now, in The Haunting of Hill House, the door to the Red Room reveals a secret that's much more aggressive.
It's open! You found the key.
The room actually got its name from The Haunting remake in '99.
The Red Room. You're going to be the first visitors that Hill House has had since Mr. Crane died.
It's the name of the room that Nell stays in. But without giving away the ending to the new show, I'll just say that the reveal is much more sinister than the rooms in the previous iterations. The room here is like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Everything's been out of order. Time, I mean. I thought for so long that time was like a line, that our moments were laid out like dominoes and that they fell one into another, but I was wrong. It's not like that at all.
The twist in the series is so surprising that it makes you want to go back and rewatch previous episodes to see how the twist is pulled off. My favorite thing in the series are the moments where you can just stop and chew the scenery. In addition to House on Haunted Hill, the other film that people get confused with The Haunting of Hill House is The Legend of Hell House, which director Mike Flanagan puts as an Easter egg in this shot right here. The basement ghost is also an homage to the corpse seen in Hell House.
He's in there, behind the wall.
Several common themes and set pieces are also used in each version of Hill House. The message written on the wall for Nell, the winding staircase that leads up to the balcony, there's cold spots in the hallway, knobs turning and doors opening. But perhaps my favorite thing to see play out each time is the warning from Mrs. Dudley.
No one lives any nearer than time. No one will come any nearer than that.
I know.
In the night. In the dark.
In the night. In the dark.
They lived all alone. In the night. In the dark.
The series is refreshing, and when it comes to the genre, I hope filmmakers are taking notes. Overall, I give the show an A-. It's not a perfect series, it's that last episode that hurts it for me. At the end, I wanted to feel chills, but what I got instead was something safe. But as a whole, it was excellent. But if you saw this series, what did you think? Leave your comments down below, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Silence lay steadily against the wood and stone of Hill House, and whatever walked there walked alone.